Welcome back, guys. We have a very special guest with us today. We'll let her introduce herself in a little bit, but this episode may be triggering for some, so we just want to put kind of like a label on it. But I mean, most of our followers, I feel like, and subscribers have listened to us talk about deeper conversations before, so I don't think it's going to be triggering for those, but you never know. So we just want to put that on there. And we also just want to make this and just say this is a safe space for everyone included today and for the listeners. And we just hope that you guys are respectful and listen to everybody and just show some kindness and support.
Yep.
Okay, so today we have Grace with us. I actually have discovered her on TikTok when I was going through some of my own issues, and kind of she showed some light for me, I guess you could say, and just showed I saw how vulnerable she was being with like sharing her story and her struggles. So I just hope that we can do the same for everybody
else.
today.
Yeah.
Okay, so Grace, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, so like she said, I'm Grace. I kind of started like most of my, I guess, healing journey on TikTok. I mean, before that I would post about it, but I wasn't doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
so that wasn't. But yeah, I started my healing journey with in regards to my relationship with exercise and food. I got diagnosed with anorexia nervosa when I was a freshman in college, but I would like to say, as most of us who have struggled with this, I think it started way before that. Like, I know it started way before that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a gymnast for 14 years too. And I don't know if I should just like jump right into that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'm sure they'll like link everything if you need to like if you want to know who I am and all
Yeah.
of that. I'll talk about all of that more later. But yeah, no, I was a gymnast for like 14 years, so I think that I was struggling with it for the majority of my life. But
Yeah.
like it was never something that I felt valid enough in because I wasn't like struggling enough. And then for me, the pandemic hit and things just went downhill and I started like struggling more rapidly. And it's
And
crazy that
I
you
feel like
say that.
I feel like that is like where stuff like this kind of shed a lot of light and people started opening up about it more was because of the pandemic. So
yeah.
everybody was stuck home and had nothing else to do but fixate on something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And we all felt like out of control. For me, a big part of my eating disorder was like I just needed something to control because
Mhm.
I've had like issues with my childhood and my relationship with my parents. My dad struggles with his own addictions, drinking, stuff like that. And me and my mom have been on and off forever. So I needed something to control. And then when the pandemic hit, I couldn't control anything.
Yeah.
So, hey, and I had so much free time. And I think everyone was like so fixated on it all the time too. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't want to get big during COVID. Like, we're Chloe Ting, whatever, like outdoor workouts all the time. And we were all watching each other all the time. So we were like, okay, well, for me, it was also competitive. I was like, well, if she's doing this, I'm going to do this. And then it just spiraled. And then I got back to school and, you get the external validation
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
oh, you look great. And then I was like, oh, I love this. And it was like a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
And then it just, I think that they call it like the euphoric phase of an eating disorder where it's like all
Exactly.
great and fun at first. And then you're like, holy shit, like I can't get out of this. But yeah, that's kind of like the beginning of my story. And it's crazy that you say that, it's crazy to hear people say that I like showed them a little bit of light on TikTok
Mhm.
because like my TikTok helped me heal so much. And that sounds so Gen Z, but
Yeah.
like my audience
Mhm.
helped me so much like continue my journey.
Yeah. So what like actually let me backtrack for a second. So do you think so we both are in the cheerleading world and we both did all-star cheerleading growing up. So like going back to like you doing gymnastics growing up, do you think that had anything to do with it? Because I know for me personally, I was a flyer. And then obviously when like puberty starts hitting, like you start gaining weight, your body starts changing. And like sometimes it comes to a point where like you're not a flyer anymore. So then I know for me, I was sitting there comparing myself and I was taller than majority of people. So I'm sitting there comparing myself to other people, like, well, maybe if I just skip this meal or I don't do this or I run this extra mile, like maybe I can stay as a flyer. Like, do you think gymnastics had anything to do with it or tie into it anyway?
100%. Not only like were my teammates, we were all very fixated on that. Like from a young age, I was in front of a mirror with other girls in a leotard and
Yeah.
nothing else. And if I couldn't control my athletic ability against other girls, I could control my appearance, especially in high school. I think that's like where it got more exacerbated, but I wouldn't say it was the only factor. A
Yeah.
lot of therapists I've talked to, like, I'm not saying if you put your kid in gymnastics, they're gonna get an eating disorder, or if you
Yeah.
put your
Yeah.
kid in
No.
cheer, they're gonna get an eating disorder. Because I'm in cheer now, actually. I've come back to, actually, I was never a cheerleader until this year, but since I could tumble, I was like, hey guys, can I come hang out with
Yeah.
you guys? So I'm in cheer now, and it really does have a lot to do with kind of all of the factors at once, like the control, the family genetic predisposition. I think a lot of my therapists said I had like the perfect storm. But yeah,
Hmm.
gymnastics was a huge factor. And I wish someone would have told us, like, as cheerleaders, as gymnasts, like, your health and your health as a woman matters way more than your position on the team
Yeah.
or your, uniform size. And you kind of just go along with it because everyone else is having all these unhealthy behaviors and no one actually teaches real nutrition
Yeah.
at that age.
Exactly. And I think like now with me coaching and like going through what I have gone through, like there was a few years ago, it was like right after COVID, there was a girl I coached who clearly I saw something was not right. Um, and like I know the girls I coach is like we try to enforce that like so much like you're not going to be able to do this unless you fuel your body.
Body. Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
we're always asking like if we're at a competition for 10 hours, we're like, did you eat protein, did you eat chicken, like did you fuel your body? And I think out of everything I personally dealt with, I think I put it into coaching so much more. And like you just said, I wish I had that person for me, like I'm trying to do for the girls I coach now.
Yeah. And I think too, like we've had kids in our gym who have it's gotten to a certain point where we've literally taken them off the team because we're like, you need to be healthy. Like you can't do all this and not be fueling your body and making sure you're okay before coming here. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, we've taken kids off teams and, like, they've gone and gotten help and they've come back and everything and they're so much better. And, like, they now understand the concept that just because I'm this position doesn't mean I need to stop fueling my body and start hurting it. So, I think that's, like, a big thing, too, with us. Like, we try, like, I feel like as a coach, but, like, growing up, it was like, getting sized in front of every other girl and like the person saying the size like out loud and then you're like, oh well, I'm a large and she's a medium, but like it would always be in the back of my head. Like it was just like terrible. I feel like it was I hated
Yeah.
that. I
And I
hated
think
it.
that gonna take like it's gonna take, I'm not saying, oh my God, the generations before us were terrible people. It's gonna take our generation to be able to speak up and be like, this is unhealthy. Because, like,
Yeah.
we grew up seeing that this was okay. Like, I don't know, if you go back and watch the Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, like,
Yeah.
all
Documentary.
those shows, like, making the team, like, it was something that was, like, drilled into our heads all the time that just smaller was better, smaller was better, smaller was
Yeah.
better. And you get to a certain point where you're like, it's not
Hmm.
like I'm hurting my body and I don't feel good. I can't focus in school. I can't perform in the way I used to. And I think some of my coaches, they obviously did notice near the end of
Yeah.
Yeah.
gymnastics. Like they would make comments, but they didn't have the education. And I think
Good.
we need to be giving our like coaches, anyone
Yeah.
who's going to be in a position of power over young impressionable people the education to spot these kind of things. Like you guys were
Yeah.
saying. I mean, it sucks that you guys had to both go through it to now be the people for other people, but
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think so you said how TikTok like helped you healing. What like gave you, because I know I could never have the courage to do what you did. Like what gave you like I guess the courage to
Courage.
like post on there, and like what was that kind of like for you?
I think that like initially it wasn't like the courage to it wasn't like motivation or like a spark that I got, the courage to post it. I think it was more of like a this is gonna hold me accountable.
Okay.
And I don't even remember the first video that kind of like because I was posting about it for a while, and also I feel like it was very obvious when I was ill. There's like a I think there's a good side to the recovery TikTok, and then there is a very
Yep.
harmful side to recovery TikTok.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
was definitely a part of the harmful side at first. I was like, "Oh, I'm recovering," and hun, you aren't even reaching the beginning of recovery at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was like the second time I had ever gotten out of a hospitalization. I posted a video and I got a lot of support. And I was like, okay, this is encouraging. Like, maybe there is a way out of this. And I felt like everyone in my personal life, this sounds so bad, and I love everyone in my personal life. Everyone in my personal life had gotten fed up with it. They were done.
Yeah.
They were done. Like my dad told me, he was like, I'm ready for your funeral. I don't know what else to do. Bye. And my mom always kind of had a weird perception around eating disorders. My sister had one too, which is weird because she got her education on it, but
Wow.
it was back and forth from like you just get over it, like figure it out, control it, this is a 90s illness, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think everyone in my personal life had given up, and I was like, I do need that outside support, and I don't like the doctors had told me like we can't do anything for you. And I think once I got the initial I don't remember which video it was, but so many people were like, this helps me so much. And I
Mhm.
think that I'm going into nursing. I think that I'm such like a person who wants to be helping other people all the time
Yeah.
that me helping myself, helping them kept me going, I guess. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've always been kind of nervous to post, but I was like, honestly, who
Um,
cares?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like especially with like eating disorders, I feel like we have not I don't want to say because I still don't think there is proper education around it, but I think like in school like they briefly talk about it like this is this, like that's that, but I feel like when it comes to a point like in your head, you're like nobody else is like going through this, like I'm alone, I'm by myself, and I feel like that kind of ties in with like mental illnesses as well, but I feel like now it's getting better and it's getting more talked about, but I feel like when you're first in like those early stages of it, you're like, one, I don't have a problem, two, no, nobody's going to understand.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, when did you guys get to a point where you were able to be open about like this is a problem? Because I know I was in denial forever. I was like, no, I'm like fucking fine, guys.
Yeah, no, I mean this one right here was probably the one that was beating down on me. And this is the first time I'm actually publicly, I think, even talking about it
yeah.
on like a social platform. So that's a big step, I guess. Um, but
Oh,
no,
huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
for my personal, I mean, she knows she's been with me through it all. She knows everything. But I feel like, um, so it's obviously I've been dealing with it for 10 plus years now since I was 13. I'm 25 now. And for the longest time, I think it started at first because my parents got divorced. So like you kind of said, it was in the beginning,
My
like it was a
parents got
control.
divorced too.
Yeah. So like I feel like it was like a control thing. Like I can't control what's going on around me, so I'm going to do something I can control. And at first like just like anything you do like publicly speaking, like you don't think anything's like
Wrong.
it's never going to get that bad. It's not wrong. Like if I just do this, like I'll be fine. So I did like whatever for a long, long time.
And I think too, like I always think of like having addiction to like drugs and alcohol, like to me that's like a disease. You like it's a disease, and people are like there's a stigma around it where like you can stop, and it's like no you can't. Like both my parents were addicts, so like I know. And like that's this with like eating disorders, it's like the same. It's a disease. Like you feel like you can stop it, but at a certain point like there's no way you physically can. And it's just like because you think, oh, it's not a problem anymore,
Yeah.
like I can control this, and then it gets to the point where it's like it's so out of control, like you can't anymore.
And
So,
I think that people don't understand that part of it. Like, no matter
yes.
how many times you try to drill it into their head, like, yes, it's in your control, but at the same time, it's not
Not,
because
Yeah.
it's
yeah,
an addiction. Like, you keep
exactly.
telling yourself, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but like, you keep telling yourself, I can get it under control. Like, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing better tomorrow, or like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a hold of it a little bit better tomorrow. And then you back out, you back out, you back out. It gets
Hmm.
worse and worse and worse. And like you said, you're like, it's never gonna get as bad as that person.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks they're the unicorn.
Hmm.
Everyone thinks they're gonna be fine. I mean, my sister, watching my own sister go through it, I never understood it. I was like she had to move to Utah for 6 months to
Hmm.
go to residential. And I was like, why doesn't she just eat? And like,
Yeah.
you don't understand. And then once you're in it, you're like, oh my God, this is so like debilitating. And you
Yeah.
want to control it, but you can't, and you feel crazy because people around you are like, why don't you just eat? And you're
Yeah.
like, I wish I knew. Like,
Yep. And I feel like that comment is like what gets to me the most is just eat.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like infuriating because you're like, this is tearing me apart. It's consuming my
Yep.
entire life. It ruined my first 3 years of college. Like,
Hmm.
if I wanted to, I obviously would, but
Yeah.
it's like such a complex disorder because once you're that far gone nutritionally too, your brain can't comprehend actual fear from like the disorder giving you fear
Yep.
around food and not moving, and your body goes into a state of famine, and it's a biological response at the same
Hmm.
time. I mean, I've studied it for years. I've gone to treatment and over like 3 or 4 times, and they tell us the same thing all the time. Like, your body thinks that it's in danger and it's causing you to want to move all the time. Like, it is a biological response. It's a physical, emotional, and mental response.
Hmm.
And you have to like rewire your entire, you literally have to learn how to eat again. And
Yeah.
Yep.
it sounds ridiculous when you talk about it, but no one gets that.
Yeah. No. Literally, exactly. And I think like for me personally, like it was never, I mean, yes, I guess there was physical signs, but it was like never like a crazy drastic change. But it got to the point where like so the girl who does my hair is like really good friends with my mom, and it came to the point where like my hair was literally like falling out in clumps. Like I could literally just run my hands through my hair and I had a handful of hair. And my hairdresser, like outsiders were noticing, and like obviously I'm not gonna go right to my mom and be like, hey mom, like da 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 da. But
Yeah.
she like reached out to her and was like, hey, like I'm just concerned, like da 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 da, like her hair is really changing, like it's like it was to the point where like the top layer of my hair was broken, like all the way up to above my ears. And then I think at that point my mom said something to you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. And we've kind of like, I feel like her mom has always, like, your mom always knew, honestly, but
Yeah.
like it wasn't to the point, and I feel like it got to like that one summer where it was just
Yeah.
like you could like see every bone in your body, and it
Yeah.
was just kind of like we collectively need to do something at
Yeah.
this point. So, but I feel like, in all honesty, like you kind of took it under control yourself in a way.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean I've only so I when was it? Like almost it was a year ago.
here, I don't know.
I don't know. It was
I don't.
either a year or a half. I don't know. Time is out the window now. But
Chill. I'm like, it's 2025.
Yeah, that's me all the time. I'm like, wait, what?
I'm all writing 2021 on papers. I'm like, girl, you need to figure it out.
yeah. So I don't know, it was just like a random day. I put her and one of our other really good friends while I meant to text her, not realizing I was texting in a group chat. And I like was like it literally sounded like a death letter. I
Literally.
literally like I was like I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like I don't know what to do. I don't want to go on. Like da da da. And then like that night, I don't know. I was for the longest time. I guess I was very against
Getting help.
getting help, which I mean I feel like is the case with a lot of people. But
Oh, 100%.
I hit that breaking point and I ended up texting in a group chat, which probably could have been the best thing that could have ever happened because they both were like, okay, well, like you need to do something about it. And then that night, I made an appointment to talk to somebody, and I've been like very good on an upward hill since
Hmm.
for
Yep.
me.
And that's another thing is there's so much I could add there. Like, going back to the physical side effects, people don't think it's valid until, your hair starts falling out, you lose your period, your heart rate is so low that you get sent to the hospital. But
Mhm.
it's like mentally it's a mental disorder for a reason. You can't tell someone's struggling until it's bad.
Right.
Hmm.
Like I said, I was getting compliments for like the first 2 years of my
Yeah.
like very bad disordered phases. And everyone was like, "You look great," all this stuff. And I was like struggling. And that's the thing, you're struggling so badly alone that then there comes the depression, there comes the anxiety.
Yep.
You want to get out of it so badly, but you just cannot get control of it until you're ready. And I think no one can make that decision for you. I got
No.
forced to go to treatment twice. Like no one wants to go to treatment. I never
Yeah.
wanted to get help because I was like, no, I don't want to let go of my disorder. Even though I didn't want to. I didn't
Yeah.
want to be forced to, even though I did want it to be gone. But, you know, so and then treatment never worked for me. It works for some people. It doesn't work unless you want it to.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
my most recent and best phase of recovery yet, I've been in recovery, real recovery for like a little bit over a year now. My best shot at recovery yet was all on my own.
Yeah.
Like I have gotten it under control on all on my own because I think you have to hit a certain point where you're either going to die or you're going to do it.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm just gonna try it. And I kept telling myself, as bad as it sounds, the whole time I kept telling myself, I was like, I can go back if I hate it. Like, I can go back if I hate it. And I just kept going, telling myself that. And now I'm obviously here and I look back and I want nothing to do with it. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think there's always gonna be a little part of you once you have it that, it's always gonna be kind of there. And you're gonna
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah.
well, like the thoughts are always there. The urge to go back is always there, but it's your response to it
Do it. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
changes. And you
Agreed.
don't have to act on it. But like you said, you're doing great now. It doesn't take a certain like, oh, I did this and then I went to recovery and I got hospitalized and it's not a certain path for anyone. Like I
Yeah.
went to treatment twice and relapsed every time. I didn't get it under control until I wanted to and I
Hmm.
did it myself. And
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh,
Exactly.
who did you go to?" Myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like that's the thing. Like with eating disorders, like there's not with like if you have a headache you can take a Tylenol and you'll be okay, but like with
Mhm.
this there's no medication, there's nothing that you can do that's going to fix it instantly. Like
Yeah.
it has to come from within, which basically is what you were just saying. And I think people don't realize that. And I think kind of the same thing with like drug addiction and alcohol addiction. Like people don't realize
100%.
that like you can't just take this or like put this on and like you'll be fixed.
Yeah. It all
100%. And
starts
people always
within yourself.
Yep, exactly. And people always ask me like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And I'm like, I just decided, like, I realized nobody's coming.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming. I mean, everyone around me had given up with like reason. I was losing my mind. Like, I don't even know how some certain people are around me at that point. Um, but like, I left the doctor one night and they basically told me, like, I was about to get kicked out of school again, out of this school that I'm at right now. And I was trying so hard to get into the nursing program. I was trying to get kicked out of, or I was about to get kicked out of school again. I had left the hospital and they had told me like there's nothing we can do for you. Like go to treatment, do something. Like you are far gone. And I was like, Grace, like what is something's got to give at some point. And I guess that was my motivation. I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like and it sounds so weird when people ask me like what'd you do? I was like, I just did it. Like I had
Yeah.
to. It's an active choice every day, even when it gets so uncomfortable,
Mhm.
like to keep doing it. Like it sucks and it's gonna suck. And people
Yeah.
always ask me like what's a good representation? I don't know if you've seen the movie like To the Bone or whatever.
Yes.
I'm like, don't watch that. Watch Beautiful Boy.
Hmm.
Because everyone around him is telling him over and over again, like, get over your addiction, like, stop the drugs, like, wanting to help him, reaching out for help. And until he gets to like rock bottom and wants to get better himself, he can't. And that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, until you want it yourself, I can't help you. Because
Yeah.
people will message me all the time, like, how do you eat? What'd you do? What did, and I'm like, do you want to? That's my
Yeah.
first question. Like, do you want to actually get better?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna like rewind a little bit. When was like your first realization that you had a problem?
Ooh, that's crazy. There's so many like points I could touch on. So I guess junior year of high school, it like wasn't that bad, like I said, because we had the pandemic just started. I was getting compliments and I didn't think it was like a problem because it really wasn't. It was healthy at that point. Like I was
Yeah.
just being a little more mindful about my nutrition. I wasn't in gymnastics at the moment. And because, as an athlete, I also think growing up, you're kind of just, you don't have the nutritional knowledge. You just eat what you eat. You're
Yeah.
fine, whatever. And since you are moving so much, you don't really recognize that.
Hmm.
During the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to try eating a little healthier. And that's great. Like I tell people that all the time too. I'm going to be a nurse. Like eating healthy is an amazing opportunity and choice for lots of people. And it's a privilege in the United States.
Yeah.
But also, it comes to a point where are you eating healthy or is it disordered? So I think the first time I realized it was disordered was when I got back to school, senior year of high school, and I was like terrified to have anything anyone else would give me. Like if someone would offer me food, I would be upset, very upset. And I didn't want to eat till a certain time in the day. And it started becoming like once the anxiety started coming up around it, I was like, this isn't good. But then
Yeah.
I also still like the external validation. So I was like, honestly, it's fine. I think the first time ever that I was like, this is bad and I can't control it was my senior year prom. And that like breaks my heart to say, but my senior year prom, like I went to my friend Claire's house and she had like her mom had ordered crumble and catered all this stuff and we were all getting ready and everyone was excited and we had gotten ready in the morning, and I
Hmm.
hadn't had breakfast. I had done, my normal routine of things that weren't healthy for me and
Yeah.
I was very agitated at the thought of even having anything.
Hmm.
And then you get to a certain point where it's like you do eat and then you give yourself that time to eat a lot. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna let myself eat whatever I want on prom. And then I eaten a lot at prom. I felt so uncomfortable. And then I was like, okay, I can't do that ever again. And it was like reiterating the thoughts in my head that this was bad for me, that I couldn't eat these things because
Yeah.
I had done these bad things to my body. It wasn't used to this. I had eaten a bigger amount on prom, which is normal, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever. And then the agitation, the fear, and the anxiety around that, and like my own personal thoughts and not being able to talk to any of my friends about it, I was like, this is bad. Because I couldn't be open with them about anything. I was hiding things from them.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
in my friend Claire's bathroom weighing myself. Like, I think once you're starting to hide things from the people you love, and once you can't open up to it about, or open up about it to anyone around you, that's when like you realize it's a
It's a
problem because
problem.
that's what
Yeah.
it wants to do. The disorder wants to isolate you.
Yeah. Exactly. So, like, how were I know you talked briefly about like your like family's feelings towards it. What was like your friends' perspective on it? Like, did you lose friends through it? Did you
Hmm.
gain friends through it?
Yeah, which also that's hard to say. I mean, through senior year of high school, I was in a relationship. He was like very aware of it. I think everyone around me was aware of it. We were with each other like all the time, and everyone was like, Grace, you have to eat. Like, you haven't eaten anything. Like all this stuff. It was just the little comments, but I also wasn't physically at a point where it was like super concerning to anyone. I was
Yeah.
still in a healthy body. Um, so no one was like hounding me about it. And then I got to college. So people would make comments, and that's about it in high school. People would make
Yeah.
comments. I got to college my freshman year and like rapidly declined because I was terrified to even go to the dining hall. I was in a little dorm room, the change in general. I needed even more control. I had a free gym to me, access at all time, like
Yeah.
walking everywhere on campus. I had declined like rapidly within the first month of college. And honestly, all of my friends from high school at that point had completely stopped talking to me because I think that they didn't want anything to do with it, which is like fine, but also at the same time, it shows you a lot like who's gonna be there when these things happen.
Exactly.
So that was really hard for me, and it kind of, since the disorder is so like you're picking yourself apart and telling yourself you aren't worthy all the time, that again reiterated, solidified my thoughts that I wasn't enough. Because my friends all left, they didn't care. They were like, I don't want anything to do with it. She's obviously losing her mind.
Yeah.
So I was very isolated, like the majority of my disorder. There was very few people who stayed at all. I had one really good friend, and she's one of my closest friends from high school. She like would hound me about it. She'd be like, Grace, like, what is going on? She's the only person who has ever been, besides like my parents and my sister and my family,
Yeah.
she's the only like friend I've had who has been very like on it. She like is not afraid to sugarcoat things. And I think that's a big thing with disorders is a lot of people don't want to recognize it or like
Yeah.
not
Exactly.
even open that can of worms. They're just like, oh, I'm not going to say anything. Like, no one wants to talk about it, even family members a lot of
Yeah.
times. Like you said, your mom knew, but like it was kind of unspoken about. That's how a
Yep.
lot of things are with friends. She is one of my only friends who was like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, she wanted to try to help. And sometimes tough love is
Yep.
really
Which
the
you
only way
think
I got through it, you
Yeah,
know?
that's literally what I was just about to get into. Like,
tough
I could,
love.
yeah, like, I feel like sometimes with that, like, when you're so wrapped into it, you're like, I don't care. I don't care what you're saying. Like, maybe you're the one that's out of your mind. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. And I think, like, that's the case majority of the time, which is, like, awful. But when you're just so wrapped into it and, like, so deep into it, like, you don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're just making
You're
every
crazy.
scenario possible to like try to make you realize that you don't have a problem and you're okay.
It's like so bad. You'll turn against everyone against you. I remember the first time I got diagnosed when the doctor told me this like 90-year-old man, adorable. Like he was like, you do, I would say that you meet the criteria for anorexia nervosa. I was like, you're lying. Like you're just crazy and you want me to get fat. I literally said that to him. I was like, you just want me to get fat. And he was like, okay, so you're farther gone than I thought. Like you are so defensive. You are like an addict. Like it's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah.
You're not there. You're like an addict.
Yeah. Exactly.
You really are, which is like crazy because it's like back to the disease thing. Like I just like if you've never experienced I feel like any of those from like your standpoint or like knowing someone, I feel like you just don't ever correlate the two with each other with an addiction and a disease and like all that stuff. I don't know.
So you knew your parents with an addiction and then you knew her struggling. How
Mhm.
like did those kind of
I
correlate?
feel like I feel like I was the one with her with the tough love.
Yeah.
When I tell you like I was a bitch, I was a bitch. Like I'm like, listen,
And
like
and now she's the maid of honor at my wedding.
yeah.
So
Like I'm like, listen, okay, this is not what we're doing. But I mean, like I've always had my own problems with food too, but like not ever nearly as bad as like her or you. Like I always like I'm the type, and I still catch myself doing it to this day. If I'm being honest, I'm the type of person where I'll eat a lot, and then I'm like, why would I do that? And then I'll be like, I won't eat for like till the next day because I'm like, I just like ate freaking like McDonald's, Wendy's, and all this stuff in one thing, and I'm like, that's not healthy. Like, I can't do that. So like, that was like my problem with food, I guess you could say. But like, I feel like mine stemmed kind of just from like all of my anxiety and like my depression. I'm a big binge eater when I'm depressed. And I guess with like from my family, like when going through all that, that was just like a lot on a 16-year-old. No, how old was I really? 14, 15?
15.
15 when I like found out about my parents. And like my parents were normal. And then randomly one day it was like, oh, BTW, your dad's on drugs. And then a year later, oh, my mom's on drugs. And I'm like, okay, woo! So it was just kind of like a whirlwind of emotions. So I feel like that was just like I always I guess you could say I'm always the person that has to be strong for other people. And like I feel like I'm the
Yeah,
type of
you take
person
on that
like
role a lot.
yeah, I take on that role a lot with people and I feel like I'm just the type of person where it's just like if I have a problem or anything like that, I'm not like I don't reach out because I don't want people to feel the burden of me. Because like I like that people come to me with anything and everything because I like being that like safety net for people. So,
See, but
uh,
that's also like something that gets to be like a problem because that's how my
yeah.
sister is kind of. Like I'm
Yeah.
like you need to take care of yourself too. Like
Yeah.
you can talk about these things, you can struggle
Yeah.
because she went through it too,
Yeah.
obviously. And then when I was going through it, she like didn't want to talk about any of her struggles. And that's what's hard is you saying that you want to be the strong person for everyone. It's going to affect you and you're going to cope
Yeah.
in different ways too. And then you're not going to want to talk about the ways you cope, which when you're not talking about the ways that you cope that are unhealthy, anyone, then we're gonna keep coping in those ways.
Yep.
And that's another thing is like through extreme hunger, which that was a whole thing itself. That
Yeah.
was so hard for me to go through. Like extreme hunger, once you get to a certain point in recovery, like once you start eating again, you start introducing new foods, like your body goes ape shit and it's like, give me everything. I was waking up at like 1 a.m., like ravenous all the time in school, trying to finish my last semester last year, or yeah, no, the year before that. I don't know.
But
So extreme hunger was scary because I'm like, is this a binge? Am I, healing in the way that I'm supposed to?
yeah.
Am I doing this wrong? Like that is so hard. They don't talk about binge eating enough. No one talks about restriction enough. No one talks about what extreme hunger is enough. Like,
Yeah.
and then people will say, "Oh, I'm binging," and it's like they eat a bag of chips. And then people who do struggle with like actual binge eating feel invalid because it's like
Mhm.
these crazy binges. And there's so much like food is another coping mechanism that no one wants to talk about
Yeah.
because we all do it, and we don't talk about like, oh, this is just such a taboo topic. Like no one talks about their eating habits, and
Yeah.
then now everyone's talking about their eating habits and who's right, who's doing it wrong, who's vegan, who's carnivore, and it just gets to be so much that obviously everyone's gonna lose their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I feel like another thing people don't realize is that everybody's situation and recovery process is
Different.
different.
It's not.
Mhm.
It's not going to be like, okay, you go to recovery, you get out, you're 100 times better, and you can eat perfectly fine. Like it just doesn't work like that. And it's not like, okay, I'm I have a problem. I've witnessed it. Like I'm gonna do this. Like, and that's the thing. Like you said, like you went to recovery twice. Like, and it's like the same thing with like everybody. Like all these other things. Like people can go to rehab, recovery. They can come out, and the next thing you know, they're not eating. They're going to buy drugs right away, or they're taking a sip of alcohol. Like it's not one straightforward way to get better.
Yeah, and I think that everyone wants to see the pretty side of recovery.
Uh huh.
Everyone wants to see the great stories, and no one wants to talk about like the shitty parts of it. And I think that's another reason I wanted to like share my story a lot on TikTok because like yes, I would be like breaking down over how much I was eating, how much I was rapidly gaining weight, but yes, that's what my body needed. But then I also had to relearn how to not like I don't have extreme, so like I went through the extreme hunger and then there was the phase where I didn't have extreme hunger anymore and I had to relearn, okay, am I binging? Is my body feeling safe? Am I restricting again? Like how am I going to navigate what my body needs without all of this outside noise?
Yeah.
And I think that was the last stage of recovery. Well, I think I'm in the last stage of recovery now, which is like just maintaining. Because I think anyone who's ever struggled with this, you're going to be in recovery your whole life. I say that. I'm going to say,
Mhm.
like, once in recovery, always in recovery.
Yeah.
Because it's always an option.
Yep.
We all know, all three of us know, like, it's easy to go down that path.
Exactly.
Always an option to use those mechanisms.
Yeah. Um, Going back to like the TikTok side of it, did you ever find yourself like, because I know people like go to TikTok and stuff for like a lot of things. Did you ever find yourself seeking or like looking on like the bad side of it on TikTok? Like not from what you're posting, just from like looking at other
Like a
postings.
4P page.
Yes.
I don't know. For you page. I mean, I don't know. I can't talk.
So I would say that I would definitely seek triggers on TikTok and I
Mhm.
would seek, you get in that certain stage where all you're obsessed with is food. You're
Yeah.
obsessed with people's what I eat in a day. You're obsessed with how they work out. Like you're obsessed with mukbangs, all that because all your brain is thinking about is food because you're starving yourself.
Yeah.
So I definitely had like the trigger seeking on there. And then I always wanted everyone else's opinions. I think that's another thing that bothers me so much is I waited so long trying to find other answers on how to do recovery on TikTok and that I waited so long that I didn't just start and do it because I wanted answers from everyone else. But
Yeah.
yes, I would find myself on the more harmful side of TikTok many times. And it's crazy that it's just on there. Like
Yeah.
still,
Yep.
it's still on there after all this time.
Yeah. Um, so going off that, continue with TikTok. Because you did gain like a big following from posting your videos, you said a lot of it was positive. Was there any like negative, which I mean there's always gonna be a negative person out there, and like how did that affect you, your recovery process?
Yeah. People would comment a lot, like, why would you do this to yourself? Or I remember, I think it might have been on my extreme hunger video. I talked about extreme hunger, or like I did like a slideshow of things I ate during extreme hunger because I
Hmm.
wanted people to feel understood, like
Yeah.
because this does happen to a lot of people in recovery. Not all, like you said, but a lot of people in recovery go through it. And I got like a comment that was like, why would you do this to yourself? Like, or you look better before, like all that stuff. And I think the first few comments I got that were negative affected me, but
Hmm.
then I was like, okay, well, am I gonna let like this random person let me go all the way back?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that and we do as humans, we want to focus on the negative.
Yeah.
And I remember having like a really hard day that day, like continuing to eat because I was like, should I just go back? Because eating disorders are competitive too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I would never recover. Like, or you would see like someone from treatment. I would see someone from treatment pop up on my For You page and I'd be like, oh my God, like they're doing so much worse. Like, I kind of want to go back. But then I'm like, am I going to let this person who I don't look up to their life at all, am
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
going to like take advice from them? And I think that's what I carried with me through recovery. And still on TikTok, when I post to this day, like if I get negative feedback on anything, I'm like, do I look up to this person's life?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
ask myself that question all the time. I'm like, do I look up to this person's life? If he had the time, if she had the time to sit here and post a negative comment about someone they don't even know, then they probably don't have that great of a life. Like,
Yeah.
get a hobby. I don't know.
Literally.
And I'm like, I am looking at people, I look up to people who, like, I want a lifestyle that they have. And what are
Yeah.
they doing? How are they treating people? So that
Yeah.
definitely helped a lot. But I think TikTok, Instagram, all social media is going to, there's always going to be negative, and you
Yeah.
have to like be
Always.
able to cope with it.
Yeah.
And that's just life in general. There's always going to be that negative person. So,
Yeah. Sucks. Like, why can't everybody be friends?
Yeah.
literally.
So talking, I'm actually curious because I've obviously never been to like residential or treatment center. Did you find like, do you still talk to people you've met through there, or do you think it's kind of just like a triggering process for like each other?
So it is definitely a triggering process, the entire experience. I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about it, it's kind of crazy. Like, let's put 19 anorexics in a room together and let them eat.
Yeah.
It's crazy because then you find out like other people's disordered habits that you didn't even think of before. So it's
Exactly.
definitely a triggering process, but also I met some of the like most amazing people there, and I still talk to a few of them, and it is good to keep up and see that they are doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a tattoo actually that one of the girls drew on me while we were in treatment. She was like one of the only girls that would talk to me, and I still
Yeah.
keep up with her. It's great to see that she's doing good because no one understands the experience you had in
Hmm.
that hospital
Yeah.
more than them. And like
Yeah.
how you feel like an animal. Like you feel not even human when you're in a hospital because you have these nurses, these practitioners, these people telling you what to do, watching you. You're treated like an animal, like they're mulling you around, telling you to eat, and
Yeah.
you're so scared. You're away from your home, you're away from all your coping mechanisms. You don't
Yeah.
know any of these people, and everyone's treating like you're crazy because you are crazy, but like they
Yeah.
treat you like you're crazy, and
Yeah.
it makes you go even more crazy. So no one
Yeah.
understands those experiences like the people who were there with you. So I definitely still talk to some of them, but some of them it I can't keep up with them because they are still down that path and it's just not good for me to see that
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot of
Exactly.
times.
How you said you recently got into cheer at your college, so like how do you, which we love cheerleading, obviously we're still in the cheer world,
Yes.
how do you think that has like helped your recovery process in any way, or
It has
just as
helped,
like an
but
all-around person?
it definitely has helped because I mean gymnastics was my life. So having movement in general and feeling athletic and being able to move my body without it being in pain and things like that and seeing kind of my spark come back as basic as it sounds, that was like cheer helped me a lot because that was the first time in like 5 years that I had felt healthy enough to do something like that. And I felt
Yeah.
like a normal college girl again for the first time in forever. And tumbling again was the most amazing feeling in the world. So that definitely kept me on the right path. Like, I'm strong enough to do this again. Like, my body is finally in a place to where I can do this again. And also, along with my eating disorder, I had a lot of suicidal ideation and things like that. So, seeing that I may not have been here for these experiences. It's
Yeah.
amazing that I'm in a place that I never thought I would be. So cheer has definitely been great for that. But again, I always tell people to be cautious with, movement after
Yep.
an eating disorder, but also it shouldn't be demonized. I think that there's a part of recovery people who are like, oh, no one can ever work out again after an eating disorder. No one can ever do any of that again. But then there's people who are like, okay, now I have to be in the gym every single day of my life for the rest of
Yeah.
my life, and they're recovered. And I think that you need to find that happy medium because you
Mhm.
earn that back. You earn the privilege to move your body again. And it doesn't have to be one way or the other. You can find what works for you. But I felt ready to go back to movement and
Yeah.
exercise. I felt in a good place in my recovery. I was no longer restricting too much. I wasn't, binging. I was in a really great place with my eating habits and I wanted to move again besides the gym.
Mhm.
So I think it was overall really healthy for me. I mean, there have been comparison moments, but every single day I think there's going to be comparison moments
Yeah.
Yeah.
in cheer, not in cheer. You're going to be like, oh, you see like a really thin person and you're like, oh shit. And they're probably like not even disordered. You're just like,
Yep.
fuck, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely something that unfortunately is gonna always be there. I say this like all the time. I wish I just had like a magic wand to wave and just be like, let's just get rid of this completely.
Yeah.
Yes. Literally, like some people just go through their lives and they just
Yeah.
don't ever think about it.
Yeah. And that's another thing. It's just like so crazy, which I think like we've talked about on like our podcast before. But like people could literally grow up in the same town, even like for the same household, like everything else, but like some people just have to deal with it and some people don't. And it's just so crazy.
Yeah. And I'm like, sometimes I'll be thinking, because, I still overthink things sometimes. I can't
Yeah.
say that I'm 100% recovered and I've never had an eating disorder. Like, it was my life for 5 years, and I'm a little bit over a year into a really good place.
Yeah.
But I'll still think about it and I'll overthink meals sometimes or, get a little anxious when I'm out at a restaurant. Like, that stuff still comes up, that stuff still happens, and I don't deny that because if I did, then I wouldn't be truthful to myself or be able to acknowledge that I am having those thoughts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's always there, but sometimes I'm looking around at like a setting I'm in and I'm like, they're not even thinking about this right now. Like,
Yeah.
none of these people are thinking about this.
Yep.
Like, or if we get offered like cookies in class on Valentine's Day, or, my nursing professor brings pizza, I'm like, it still brings up a little anxiety and there's like, oh,
Yeah.
should I? And, your brain is always going to think about it because you've been dealing with it for however long. And
Yeah.
then these people are just going for it, not thinking about it, not second guessing anything. And I'm like, wow, crazy. Just to think that some people don't have their brains work like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Um, just for like anyone who is dealing with it right now, don't like just stay on your own path. Stop comparing, stop looking for answers in other people because TikTok, especially right now, like I know we've all seen skinny talk. Like there are people who are on their own paths doing whatever they want to do. And if it's affecting you in your journey and you know it's not good for you, ignore it. Because, some people are on a path to just diet for the rest of their lives. And if it's affecting your journey, then
Yep.
just look. Like I always say, put your blinders on. If
Yep.
anyone's dealing with it right now, put your blinders on, do what you know is best for you. Because like skinny talk pisses me off so much. Just like all
Yeah.
this stuff, all the misinformation, carnivore this, vegan that, like do what you know is working for you. Like who cares what anyone else is doing? That's my only piece of advice for anyone who's going through it right now.
Yeah.
Like you know what you need to do, so just do it.
Yep.
I say that to people all the time when they text me like, "How did you recover?" I'm like, "You and I both know what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to do
Exactly.
it." Like,
Yeah.
be uncomfortable. It's gonna suck, but it's gonna be the best decision you've ever made.
Yeah.
Agreed. Hallelujah on that one.
Hallelujah.
But no, I think that is going to be a wrap on this episode. Hopefully, if there is people out there struggling or have gone through this, you can take away a piece of positive information from this. And just know that you guys are never alone. You can definitely reach out to the three of us. I know that we will gladly listen to you, try to help in the best way we can. But yeah, so that is a wrap on this episode, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thank you.